And an agenda for action, reducing racial inequality in modern Britain, has been sent out by the think tanks Bright Blue and British Future. And they want to move, they say, beyond polarised political arguments about language. They say the debate has become stuck. And they say there is scope for consensus on actions that could actually make a real difference to addressing real inequalities. Let's talk to Ryan Shorthouse about this. He's director of Bright Blue, one of those think tanks editing that report. Good morning to you.
Morning.
You know you're just going to get in trouble for this press release, because it's a press release talking about positive, sensible things that can be done, as opposed to sort of a victim culture, a victim mentality. And that means that it won't be accepted by many of those who, let's face it, are, at all intents and purposes, race baiters in this country. They make their living from telling us what an awful place this is for everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree there's a very polarised, stuck debate here. And it seems that we have a kind of circular debate about this issue, which is Britain institutionally racist? And I just don't think it's a helpful discussion whatsoever. We know racism exists. We know there is racial inequality. The question is, how do we fix it? What bold ideas do we need to do? And in this essay collection, we've got people from across the public, third, private sectors, leaders who have come up with new initiatives to try and reduce that racial bias.
But there's been some reports. There have been some reports recently that suggested that actually an awful lot of what we see as racial inequality is often simply class inequality, and it's about the fact that the vast majority of people who are ethnic minorities in this country are either immigrants or come from relatively recent immigrant families, and are therefore, unfortunately, at the bottom of the economic pile, and they are facing the same inequalities that white people are facing in that sense. And so we often misidentify what's really going on.
I think that's right. The evidence seems to suggest that social class, out of all of our social characteristics, is the most important determinant. But what I would say, Julia, is that race still has some impact.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, class explains a lot of it. But even if you take that into account, there is still a racial penalty, particularly on financial and health outcomes. So we still know that race is playing a factor, probably not as large as some people assume in the UK, but it's still having a factor.
Tell me, we've got only a few more moments left. Tell me just one key specific thing that could be done that could address some racial inequalities in this country.
Okay, so one thing that the City of London Academy is doing, it's a chain of schools within London, is those pupils who are at risk of permanent exclusion, who often are disproportionately black boys, are being directed to what's called apprenticeship academies. And the evidence from those is that once they engage with these academies, which are very small settings, working very intensely with these pupils, that the risk of permanent exclusion, well, the number of people being permanently excluded really drops. And a lot of them go on to do further study and get good jobs afterwards.
Great stuff. We'll have to leave it there. Ryan, I'm so sorry we're out of time. I do apologise. I came to you a little bit late. Ryan at Shorthouse, thank you very much indeed. I hope you'll come on again soon. Up next, we're going to talk about bin strikes in Scotland, but could it spread across the whole country? This is Talk Breakfast.